hardest records of the last decade, and the estate he left behind now runs into the millions, with the whole industry asking one chilling question: what happens to it now? You know the tag. You have heard it drop right before the beat hits your chest. But behind Sicko Mode, behind Look Alive, behind Non-Stop, Tay Keith was quietly building something nobody thought to ask about. A music catalog worth millions. A publishing deal with one of the biggest companies on earth. His own company with his name on the paperwork, and reported moves into real estate and investments. Most people only knew the sound. Almost nobody understood the empire stacking up behind it every single time one of his records played anywhere on the planet, and what it could mean now for the people he loved. We are going inside the Tay Keith estate. What he was really worth, the assets he was sitting on, and what his family stands to inherit now. By the end of this, you will understand the real story was never just the beats. It was what those beats were quietly turning into the whole time. Let us keep it real first. Breavius Lake Keith Chambers, the government name behind Tay Keith, passed away on June 18, 2026, found inside his Nashville apartment at just 29 years old. Police said no foul play is suspected, and the case remains unclassified pending autopsy results. That is a hard thing to sit with. A young man at the absolute peak of his power, gone way too soon. The whole industry is still reeling, because this was not a name from the past. This was a producer still in his prime, still climbing. But here is the unsettling part. When someone builds what Tay Keith built, the music does not stop when the heartbeat does. The catalog keeps spinning. The royalties keep landing. The ownership stays exactly where he left it and now belongs to whoever he left it to. So rewind back to where it started. To a kid from South Memphis who ended up sitting on an estate the entire internet is now scrambling to put a number on. Born September 20th, 1996, the youngest of 5, Tay grew up in a household nowhere near the music business. His mother had her GED and went to cosmetology school. His father was a locksmith. Working people, trade people, parents who pushed education hard because that was the path they understood, the path that felt safe to them. But his love for music traced back to time spent at his father's house, around DJ-ing, around siblings and neighbors who lit that spark on weekends. No studio handed to him, no famous cousin pulling strings, just a curious kid in Memphis who found something that grabbed him and never let go. And Memphis is not just a backdrop in this story. It is one of the deepest wells in all of American music, a city with grit baked into its DNA, where the music has always carried weight and pain and power. Growing up inside that Southern rap tradition gave Tay something you cannot teach in a classroom: the hardness in his drums, the menace in his low end, the feeling that his beats were stalking you. He never copied what was hot in Atlanta, New York, or LA. He brought something unmistakably his own, and the industry came looking for it. That is a powerful position to hold, because when you own a sound nobody else has, you are never just competing on price. That scarcity is exactly what made him valuable, because value is what an estate is built on. He started making beats at just 14 years old. Think about that. Just him, a screen, and a relentless need to figure it out, with no mentor, no plaque on the wall, nobody showing him the way. While every other kid around him wanted the mic, the spotlight, the chains, Tay went the complete opposite direction. He went behind the glass. He fell for the construction of the sound itself, the architecture, the way one drum pattern could make an entire room lose its mind. That is the ambition of a builder, not a performer. And it explains everything about how his wealth ended up looking the way it did, because builders own things, and owners get paid long after the show ends. He uploaded beat after beat online, throwing his work into the void with no followers, no cosigns, nothing pushing him forward except reps day after day on a craft that might never pay off at all. Most people quit in that stretch. Tay didn't. He kept stacking, kept refining, building a foundation in the dark nobody could see yet. And that same discipline is exactly what later showed up in how he handled his money and his ownership. Then came the connection that changed everything. He linked with a Memphis rapper named Blockboy JB, and the chemistry was undeniable. By 2015, he was already landing placements, producing for Black Youngsta, working with Moneybagg Yo, quietly building credits and relationships nobody outside the game would even notice. And he was doing all of it while still in college because his parents had drilled education into him so deep. He enrolled at Middle Tennessee State University, studying media management, refusing to fully bet on either path until life forced his hand. He graduated December 15, 2018, a first-generation college graduate, and that single decision to finish school instead of chasing music full-time ended up shaping everything that came after, because he was not just learning to make beats. He was learning how the business itself worked, the side most producers never bother to understand. And that knowledge is a huge reason this story ends in an estate instead of just a highlight reel. But 2018 was not only the year he graduated, it was the year the entire planet learned his name. It started with Rover for Block Boy JB, already buzzing in the streets. Then came Look Alive featuring Drake, produced by Tay, and that record detonated. Number 5 on the Billboard. Hot 100. Think about that for a second. The biggest artist on the planet rapping over a beat from a kid out of South Memphis who had been uploading to the internet just a few years earlier. That producer tag started hitting radio stations in every city in America. The door cracked open and Tay Keith kicked it clean off the hinges. Break these records down one by one because each one is not just a memory, it is a building block of the estate we are talking about. Look Alive was the springboard. Before it, Tay was a regional name with promise. After it, he was a producer Drake wanted. That is a career-defining leap. It proved his Memphis sound could sit at the top of the mainstream, putting his name in front of every A&R and superstar in the business. One record rewrote what was possible for him. Then came Drake's Non-Stop Off the Scorpion album, a global smash. Number 2 on the Hot 100, inescapable that entire summer. Landing on a Drake album cut is not just a placement, it is a stamp of arrival, and every one of those billions of streams touches the producer behind the track, the kind of placement that keeps paying quietly for years. Then came the one that made him immortal. Travis Scott's Sicko Mode, a cultural earthquake, a number 1 record that spent over 30 weeks in the Billboard Top 10, eventually certified diamond, earning Tay his first Grammy nomination. A diamond certification represents 10 million units sold, stacked on top of billions of streams. A song like that is not a hit you celebrate once. It is a financial asset paying out for decades, an anchor that alone could carry value for a lifetime, and it changed the math of his career. That same year, he produced Not Alike for Eminem on the Kamikaze album. Stop and think about that range. Drake to Travis Scott to Eminem. 3 different superstars trusting one young Memphis producer in the same stretch of months, while also working a platinum record with 6ix9ine. The placements were stacking faster than anybody could track, each one another brick in the foundation. It did not stop in 2018. He produced Before I Let Go for Beyoncé on her Homecoming Live album, and working with Beyoncé puts you in a different stratosphere, because she does not pick collaborators lightly. He did the Rover remix with 21 Savage, extending one of his earliest signature records into a bigger moment, and years later he helped launch Sexy Red's breakout single, Pound Town, proving he could find and build the next wave, not just ride the last one. That is the part most people miss judging a producer's worth. A lot of producers catch one hot run and fade the moment the sound shifts. Tay kept evolving, staying relevant across multiple eras of rap, so his catalog spans years and generations instead of freezing in one moment, making it more resilient, more durable, and far more valuable over time. By the time you tally it up, the man had 11 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 and 6 number 1s on the Hot R&B and hip-hop chart this decade, a record-setting run. He landed on the Forbes 30 Under 30 music list in 2025 and was a 3-time BMI Producer of the Year. Those are not trophies on a shelf. Those are the credentials that kept his rates high and the superstars constantly calling. Every single placement was an asset, property that keeps paying out for years to come. A normal job, you do the work, you get the check, it is over. A hit record pays you again and again for the rest of your life and beyond. Tay Keith spent the back half of the 2010s and into the 2020s stacking a portfolio of exactly that. one income stream locked in after another. Now to the estate itself, what the man was actually worth. The reported figures put his net worth between $2 and $5 million, with some 2024 estimates running as high as $10 million, depending on how you value the catalog and the publishing. That spread alone tells you something chilling. The most valuable thing he owned was never cash sitting in a bank account you could simply count. It lived inside the songs, and the true value of those songs remains a moving target the entire industry is fighting over right now. The real engine of his wealth is harder to measure and very likely worth far more than the liquid cash suggests. Start with the crown jewel, the music catalog. Hundreds of tracks, including diamond and multi-platinum records pulling billions of streams collectively. Sicko Mode alone has billions of plays, and every play sends a fraction back to whoever owns a piece of that record. Here is how a producer at his level actually earns off one song, because it is layered, and understanding those layers is the key to the estate. First, there is the upfront production fee for the beat, and for someone of his caliber, that fee was premium. Second, there are producer points, a negotiated cut of the earnings, so he keeps getting paid as the song sells and streams. Third, there are songwriting and publishing royalties, because creating the composition means owning a piece of the song, not just one recording, so every cover, sample, sync, and stream in any form can pay out. Stack those 3 layers across hundreds of tracks, and you start to understand why this was never just a paycheck. It is a machine running on its own. Then, there is the publishing, one of the most durable assets in the estate. Tay Keith held a publishing deal with Warner Chappell Music, one of the biggest publishers on earth. And those rights are tied directly to the songwriting itself, the melody, the structure, generating income anywhere those compositions get used, streamed, played on the radio, sampled, licensed into a film or a show or a commercial. Every use triggers a payment, and publishing income is sticky, never evaporating when a song falls off the charts. A record from 2018 is still earning publishing money in 2026 and will keep earning long past that, quietly compounding while everyone focuses on the flashy stuff. In 2018, the same breakout year, Tay and his manager, Cambrian Strong, founded Dramatized Music Group, his own company, one of the smartest moves in the story, tying back to that media management degree. A producer who only takes work for hire is an employee. A producer who builds a company becomes an owner inside it. Dramatized is a vehicle for signing